Good morning, children. Sairam. Welcome back to our science class. And today we are going to learn our last last part of the lesson number 12, the Earth and the Solar System. So it is part 8, and this will be your last part. And in this part 8, we are going to learn about Earth's revolution and how seasons change. So, what are we going to learn today? Today, we are going to learn how Earth's revolution and about the Earth's revolution and how seasons change. Okay, so let's begin. And we know that Earth is one of the 8 planets in our solar system, and it is the only planet that have life on Earth. And so Earth is our home. So we live on the planet Earth, and we have different seasons on the Earth, which makes living on Earth beautiful and colorful, isn't it? Okay. So, do you know how many seasons do we have on Earth? Yes, there are 4 major seasons, that is winter, spring, summer, and autumn. So these are the 4 major seasons. Okay, now let us discuss about all these seasons. Now let's take winter first. So what is winter? So it's the time to enjoy hot tea, hot coffee, and hot milk, isn't it? Yes. So, and we feel very cold in winter season, and we feel so sleepy also in the winter season. And then comes spring season. So the winter season is followed, then the spring season. So what is spring season? The weather is very pleasant in the spring season. Fresh new leaves appears on the trees, and plants blooms into colorful flowers, and we can also see many colorful and beautiful butterflies in the spring season. And then the spring is followed by the dry summer season. Though the summer season is very dry, we can enjoy the mangoes in the summer season. Yes, the mangoes come in summer season. So, after summer season comes autumn, the season of falling leaves. So, what is autumn? The season of falling leaves. The trees are preparing themselves to face the severe cold or winter that lies ahead of autumn. Okay, so these are the 4 major seasons that we find. Now, do you know all these seasons happen due to the movement of Earth? So, how does the spring season gets changed? Yes, this is due to the movement of Earth. So, for knowing about the seasons, we have to understand the movement of the Earth. So, first, some definition. So, the spinning movement, this is the Earth spins. The spinning movement of the Earth is called rotation. This already we have learnt in part 6 and 7. So, it appears to spin around a line passing through its center. So there is a line passing through its center. The earth spins like an imaginary line passing through its center, and this imaginary line passes through the north pole and the south pole of the earth. And so it is called the axis of rotation. And the earth completes one rotation. The earth completes one rotation in 24 hours, and the rotation of the earth causes day and night. So all this we have already learnt. And what is revolution? The earth moves around the sun in a fixed path called orbit. In a fixed path called orbit. So the earth moves around the sun. This line is called the orbit. So the earth moves around the sun in a fixed path is called an orbit. This movement of the earth is called the revolution. This movement of the earth is called the revolution. And do you know how much time it takes to complete one revolution? Yes, the earth revolves around the sun. The earth revolves around the sun once in about 365 days or 1 year. And this causes the seasons. So before knowing how it causes, we should know some definitions. Okay. So for knowing about the seasons, we understood about the movement of the earth. So now this is the model of the earth, right? So now let us cut the earth, like how you cut an orange. Okay, so let us cut the earth into two halves. So this is one half and this is the second half. Okay, so let us cut the earth into two parts, just like we cut an orange in the center. So from center you have to cut, right? You have to cut from the center. The top part is called the northern hemisphere. The top part is called the northern hemisphere. And the bottom part is called the southern hemisphere. The bottom part is called the southern hemisphere. And the center part, and the center place where you cut, can you see the line? This is the place where you cut the earth. It is called the equator. It is called the equator. So the top part is called northern hemisphere, bottom part is called the southern hemisphere, and the center part is called the equator. Now this model of the earth, if you flatten on the paper, now if you flatten this big ball of earth on a flat piece of paper, so how does it look? It will look like this. Okay, so earth is a big ball. Now we are going to flatten on the paper. So if you flatten, it will look like this. Our earth will look like this. Now this line, this dark line, can you see here, is called the equator. So this dark line, the center line, is called the equator. And above the equator are the countries located in the northern hemisphere, like Asia, North America, Europe, etc. And the bottom of the equator, it is southern hemisphere. It is called the southern hemisphere. Like the countries located, which are the countries located in the southern hemisphere? Like Australia and South America, etc. So in the northern hemisphere, countries like Asia, Europe, North America, and the southern hemisphere, countries like Australia, South America. And our India also lies in the northern hemisphere. So can you see the India here? Yes, so it also lies in the northern hemisphere. Okay. So now what is the difference between the now why did we learn about this northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere? But we were talking about the season. So what is the connection between them? So now let's learn about the connection. Now, what is the difference between the summer season, between these two seasons? So can you make out what these two seasons are? Summer season, winter season. Okay, summer is very hot and the winter is cold. So do you know why summer season we feel so hot? Why it is hot in summer season? Because you get more sunlight from the sun. And in winter you feel cold because you get less sunlight. So as you see here, okay, as you see here, the earth, so the earth is tilted towards the sun, okay, and the upper part is called, the top part is called the northern hemisphere, which is north pole, south pole, and the southern hemisphere. So as you know that the top half of the sphere of the earth, the top half of the earth is the northern hemisphere, is getting more sunlight and it is closer to the sun compared to the southern hemisphere. So there must be summer in the northern hemisphere. So season is all dependent on which part gets how much sunlight during that time. So earth is tilted. So which part of the earth is tilted towards the sun? It will be summer. The other part will be winter because it receives less sunlight. And do you know countries like Indonesia is located near the equator, which is very hot. They receive the least amount of sunlight throughout the year. So this equator, the Indonesia, does it receive less amount of sunlight? No, the equator receives direct sunlight throughout the year, the full year. So all 365 days, the country like Indonesia receives too much sunlight. Okay, it receives too much sunlight. It receives direct sunlight throughout the year. So the region between the North Pole and the South Pole receives very less amount of sunlight. So the region between North Pole and the South Pole, they receive less sunlight. Do they receive more sunlight here, North Pole and the South Pole? No, they receive less sunlight. The amount of sunlight, okay. So it is always dark and very cold there. And the sun shines only 3 to 4 months here. 3 or 4 months here. And the places between the poles and the equator receiving varying amount of sunlight depend on which hemisphere is facing or tilted towards the sun. And hence these places have different seasons like summer and winter during the part of the year. And why different seasons? Why do we have different seasons? So as you know that earth rotates on its axis in a tilted position. That is, it is not exactly vertical, and because of this, at different times of the year, either the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, and the hemisphere which is tilted towards the sun receives more sunlight and the other part receives less sunlight. Now, for example, to understand more, let us have a look here. So here, as you can see this picture, the region which is the countries which is situated near the equator, it receives direct sunlight. Amount of sunlight is more, and the north pole and the south pole regions, they receive less sunlight. So that is why it is very dark and it is very cold. Now, to understand about these different seasons, I am showing here a picture. So for example, so in the center there is a sun. So the earth here in the month of June, the northern hemisphere. So which part is northern hemisphere? The top part, and the bottom part is southern. So the top part is tilted. The northern hemisphere is tilted more towards the sun. Hence, countries like India, North America are tilted towards the sun and receives more sunlight and have long summer days. But in the same June month, the southern hemisphere, which is the bottom part, it is tilted away from the sun. So it receives less sunlight, and the countries like Australia and the South America, it is very cold. Isn't it amazing? Yes. Now after 6 months, so after this June, after 6 months, it is December. So due to the revolution of the sun, the southern hemisphere reaches the sun and gets tilted towards the sun. Now the southern hemisphere reaches the sun and gets tilted towards the sun, and hence it enjoys the summer season, while the northern hemisphere enjoys the winter season. Okay, so now you see this picture here. So in the month of June, the northern hemisphere is summer and the southern hemisphere is winter. Now in the month of September, the northern hemisphere is autumn and the southern hemisphere is spring. And in the month of December, the northern hemisphere is winter and the southern hemisphere is summer. And in the month of March, the northern hemisphere is spring and the southern hemisphere is autumn. So it is really wow. In the same month, one half of the earth is experiencing summer season and the other half is experiencing winter season. And in the next 6 months, one half of the earth is experiencing winter and the other half is experiencing summer. So same way, spring, autumn, spring. So isn't it a wonder, children, if you think of it? Yes, it's really amazing. So now this is the end of the lesson. Now let us, this picture can be asked in the exam. So you should know how to mark the summer season, winter season. Okay, and winter, summer, spring, autumn, spring. So practice drawing this picture. Okay. Now this is the picture showing the different season, how it changes. Now let's have some quiz time. Now what would have happened if Earth was not tilted in its axis? So we know that Earth is tilted. What would have happened if Earth is not tilted? Yes, we do not experience any season. For the entire year, the given hemisphere would get same amount of sunlight. So if it is not tilted, then the same amount of heat is received from the sunlight for the entire year. Number 2. What would have happened if Earth was not revolving around the sun? If the Earth doesn't revolve around the sun, we'll not experience any seasons at all. So there would be no different seasons. And what would have happened if Earth was not rotating around its axis? So one half will have daytime and the other half will have nighttime throughout the year if the Earth does not rotates on its own axis. So the northern hemisphere tilts towards the sun during which season? Sorry, Baba. So it's during summer season. Okay. Now next one. The Earth's dash enables us to measure time in terms of days. So the Earth's dash, the Earth's rotation or the surface or the distance or the mass. So it is the Earth's rotation. Number 6, we experience different stages like sunrise, midday, sunset during a single year, day, month or hour. So when do we experience all this? We experience all this in a day. Okay, so day is the answer. Okay, next one, number 7. It takes 24 hours of the Earth to rotate around itself. So isn't it the true or false? Think and tell me. Number 8. The Earth rotates from east to west. This also we have learnt already. Is it a true or false? Number 9. The position of the sunrise and the sunset are constant. So the position of the sunrise and the sunset are constant every year. So is it a true or false? So the first one is number 7. It takes 24 hours of the Earth to rotate. It is true. It is false because it rotates always from west to east. And the position of the sunrise and the sunset are constant. It is false. It keeps on changing. It is not constant. Now let's learn some questions. How do day and night occur on Earth? This we have already in the textbook. It occurs due to the Earth's rotation about its own axis. The part which faces the sun has day and the other part has night. So what term is used to describe the orbital motion of the Earth around the sun and how long it takes to do so? So the orbital motion of the Earth around the sun is called the revolution of the Earth and the time taken is 365 days or 1 year. So how do day and night occur on Earth? This is also just we learned. It's due to the Earth's rotation about its own axis, which faces the sun has day and other part has night. So in which hemisphere is our country located? So it is located in the northern and eastern hemispheres of the Earth, or you can write only northern also. The exact right answer is the northern and the eastern hemispheres. So this is the end of the lesson, children. I hope you all understood, and in the interactive sessions in the month of February, we will discuss the question answers and the name the following and some activities also. So in the next video, let us start with a new lesson for this academic year. Okay, children, bye bye.